Commander Jake Sullivan, was drinking his morning coffee when the emergency signal came through the communication array of Earth's Hope. The exploration vessel had been mapping star systems in the outer rim for 6 months without finding anything more exciting than empty planets and asteroid fields. Jake set down his cup and walked to the bridge where Lieutenant Amy Foster was already working at the communication station. "What do we have, Amy?" Jake asked as he looked at the strange patterns flowing across her screen. "It's not like anything." "In our database, sir," Amy replied while adjusting the frequency controls. "The signal is definitely artificial and it's repeating every 30 seconds, but the language is completely unknown." Jake studied the alien symbols that appeared on the main screen. After 20 years in space, he had seen many things, but this was his first contact with non-human intelligence. "Can you clean up the signal and run it through the translation programs?" Amy worked for several minutes before the computer began producing rough translations. The words that appeared made Jake's blood run cold. Help, invasion, dying, protection. "Please," Jake called for Captain Lisa Morgan, who arrived within minutes still wearing her exercise clothes. "Show me what you found," Lisa said as she took her position in the captain's chair. The translation program had improved the signal quality, and now they could hear a voice speaking in desperate tones. The computer's translation came through the speakers in mechanical English. "This is Ambassador Zirenka of the Kaleri people speaking to any species that might receive this message. Our star system is under attack by the Vorthak Empire, and our defenses are failing. We are a peaceful people, with no knowledge of warfare, and we face complete destruction within days. We have studied the species of this galaxy, and we know that humans possess both advanced technology and military capability. We offer our most precious technologies in exchange for protection. Our shield generators and energy cores represent centuries of scientific advancement. Please respond if you receive this message. We are running out of time." The message repeated, and Lisa felt the weight of the decision settling on her shoulders. Making first contact with an alien species was far beyond her authority as a ship captain, but the desperation in the alien voice was unmistakable. "Amy, get me a direct channel to Earth Fleet Command immediately," Lisa ordered. Jake plot a course to the source of this transmission and prepare the ship for maximum speed. The response from Admiral Pete Harrison came back faster than expected. Lisa found herself in a video conference with the highest levels of Earth's military leadership within 2 hours. Admiral Harrison looked tired, but his eyes were sharp as he studied the translated message. "Captain Morgan, this could be the most important moment in human history," the Admiral said. "We've been looking for proof that we're not alone in the universe, and now we have it. But this isn't just first contact. It's a request for military intervention in an interstellar war." General Kevin White joined the conversation from his office at Military Command. "The strategic implications are enormous, Admiral. If these Kaleri possess technology that's centuries ahead of ours, then this could advance human civilization beyond our wildest dreams. But we need to know what we're getting into before we commit to anything." Lisa shared everything they had learned from the alien transmission. The Kaleri appeared to be a highly advanced but completely peaceful species that had never developed military technology. The Vorthak Empire was described as a conquering force that enslaved entire planets and had been expanding across their region of space for hundreds of years. "Sir, if I may," Jake interrupted during a pause in the discussion. "The Kaleri specifically mentioned that they've been studying human military capabilities. That suggests they've been watching us for some time, and they chose to contact us specifically because of our ability to wage war." Admiral Harrison nodded slowly. "That's exactly what concerns me, Commander. Why would a peaceful species that's supposedly more advanced than us need our help unless this Vorthak Empire represents a threat beyond conventional military response?" The debate continued for hours as more officials joined the conference. Scientists wanted to learn about Kaleri technology. Diplomats worried about the precedent of involving Earth in alien conflicts. Military leaders saw the opportunity to establish humanity as a major power in galactic politics. Finally, Admiral Harrison made the decision that would change everything. Captain Morgan, you will proceed to the Kaleri system with all possible speed. Commander Sullivan will take a small team ahead in one of our fastest ships to make direct contact and assess the situation. General White will begin preparing our response options ranging from diplomatic support to full military intervention. As the conference ended, Lisa felt the enormous responsibility of representing humanity in its first contact with alien civilization. The Kaleri had asked for protection, and now Earth would have to decide how far humanity was willing to go to provide it. Jake began preparing his reconnaissance mission while Amy continued monitoring Kaleri transmissions. The messages were becoming more desperate as Vorthok forces tightened their grip on the alien star system. Time was running out, and humanity was about to discover that answering a plea for help would unleash something the galaxy had never seen before. The war engine was beginning to wake up. Colonel Ryan Davis gripped the armrest of his command chair as the stealth ship, silent running, dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kaleri system. What appeared on the main screen made every person on the bridge fall silent. The space around the alien homeworld was filled with massive warships arranged in perfect, geometric patterns that stretched across millions of kilometers. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Amy Foster as she counted the enemy vessels. "There are over 300 of those things, and each one is the size of a small city." Ryan had seen the largest ships in Earth's fleet, but nothing had prepared him for the scale of Vorthok military power. The alien dreadnoughts were dark metal constructions covered with weapon batteries and thick armor plating. They moved in slow, deliberate formations that spoke of absolute confidence in their overwhelming superiority. "Take us in closer, but keep U.S. hidden," Ryan ordered his pilot. "I want detailed scans of their technology and battle tactics." The silent running crept through the outer asteroid belt while its advanced sensors recorded everything about the Vorthok fleet. Ryan watched as the enemy ships systematically bombarded Kaleri defensive positions on the system's outer planets. The Vorthok didn't seem to be in any hurry as they slowly tightened their blockade around the homeworld. "Colonel, look at this," called out Sergeant Tony Lewis from the tactical station. "The Vorthok ships are using pure brute force weapons. Massive plasma cannons and particle beams designed to overwhelm any defense through sheer power output. But their firing patterns are completely predictable." Ryan studied the tactical display that showed Vorthok attack formations. The enemy ships moved like ancient warships from Earth's history, arranging themselves in straight lines and firing devastating volleys at fixed targets. They had clearly never faced an enemy that could match their firepower or challenge their tactics. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface," Amy reported. "It's Ambassador Zirenka requesting immediate assistance." The alien appeared on their screen as a tall, graceful being with silver skin and large eyes that held deep intelligence. Despite the translation difficulties, Ryan could hear the desperation in the ambassador's voice. "Human vessel, we detect your presence in our system, and we thank you for responding to our call," Zirenka said. "The Vorthok have destroyed our outer defense platforms, and their ground forces have begun landing on our colonies. We estimate perhaps days before they reach our homeworld." Ryan activated the communication system. "Ambassador, this is Colonel Ryan Davis of Earth's military forces. We're here to assess the situation and determine how we can help your people." "Colonel, the Vorthok Empire has conquered 43 species over the past 3 centuries, the ambassador replied. "They follow the same pattern with every world they attack. First, they establish orbital superiority through overwhelming numbers. Then they bomb military targets while landing ground forces to secure strategic resources. Finally, they process the surviving population through labor camps before relocating them to mining worlds." The briefing continued as Ambassador Zirenka shared everything the Kaleri knew about their enemies. The Vorthok Empire was ruled by military warlords who viewed conquest as both duty and pleasure. They had never encountered serious resistance because most species either surrendered immediately or were crushed by superior numbers. "What about your own military capabilities?" Ryan asked. "We have none," Zirenka admitted. The Kaleri achieved interstellar travel through scientific advancement and peaceful exploration. We've spent millennia developing defensive technologies like energy shields and medical sciences, but we've never created weapons of war. We simply don't understand the military mindset. Ryan exchanged glances with his officers. The situation was even worse than Earth Command had feared. The Kaleri possessed incredible technology, but they were completely helpless against a species that lived for warfare. "Sir, I'm picking up Vorthek communications," Amy announced. "The translation computers are making progress with their language." The intercepted messages revealed the enemy's assessment of the situation. Vorthek commanders discussed humanity as a minor threat species based on limited observations of human conflicts. They had classified Earth's military technology as primitive and believed humans were undisciplined warriors who relied on emotion rather than tactical planning. "Colonel, they're planning something called a demonstration attack," Sergeant Lewis reported after analyzing the communications. "The Vorthek want to make an example of the Kaleri to discourage other species from resisting their expansion." Ryan felt cold anger building in his chest as he learned the details of the enemy plan. The Vorthek intended to destroy the Kaleri's capital city in a massive orbital bombardment that would be broadcast across the galaxy. They wanted other species to see what happened to those who defied the Empire. "Amy, get me a secure channel to Earth Command immediately," Ryan ordered. "Me to speak with Admiral Harrison right now." The conversation with Earth lasted several hours as Ryan transmitted everything they had learned about the Vorthek Empire. Admiral Harrison listened grimly as the colonel described enemy capabilities and intentions. "What's your assessment of their weaknesses, Colonel?" the Admiral asked. "Sir, the Vorthek are powerful, but they're also predictable," Ryan replied. "They fight like a sledgehammer, using overwhelming force against static targets. They've never faced an enemy that could match their technology or challenge their tactical assumptions. They're overconfident to the point of arrogance." "And what about the Kaleri? They're exactly what they claim to be, Admiral. A peaceful species with incredible defensive technology, but absolutely no military experience. They're offering us energy shield generators and power cores that could advance our military capabilities by decades." Admiral Harrison was quiet for a long moment before responding. "Colonel, the decision has been made at the highest levels of government. Earth will not allow the Kaleri to be destroyed, and we will not permit the Vorthek Empire to continue expanding unchecked. Begin detailed reconnaissance of enemy positions and prepare targeting data for our fleet." Ryan acknowledged the orders and began the most important intelligence-gathering mission in human history. The Vorthek Empire was about to discover that their assessment of humanity was completely wrong and that some species were willing to fight back against overwhelming odds. The war engine was about to show them what human military doctrine really meant. General Kevin White stood in the command center watching displays that showed shipyards across the solar system working at maximum capacity. Every construction facility from Earth orbit to the asteroid belt had been converted to military production. Within 72 hours of receiving Colonel Davis's intelligence report, the largest mobilization in human history was taking shape with frightening speed. "General, the production numbers are beyond our most optimistic projections," reported Captain LeVar White as she updated the status boards. "We're building ships faster than we ever thought possible, and the new designs are testing better than expected." Kevin studied the technical specifications flowing across his screens. Human engineers had taken the basic concepts of Kaleri Shield, technology that Ambassador Zerenka had transmitted, and integrated them with Earth's most advanced weapon systems. The result was revolutionary military hardware that combined defensive capabilities with unprecedented offensive power. "What's the status on Operation Steel Guardian?" Kevin asked his staff. "Sir, we have 27 ships ready for immediate deployment," replied Colonel Nancy Davis from the Fleet Coordination Center. "Each vessel carries specialized equipment and 12,000 personnel are standing by for departure." "Admiral Carl Johnson is requesting permission to begin the first phase of deployment." Kevin activated the communication system to speak with the shipyard commanders across the solar system. "All stations, this is General White. We are implementing Code 7 mobilization protocols. Every available resource is to be directed toward military production. We have weeks, not months, to prepare for the largest military operation in human history. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Civilian contractors volunteered to work extended shifts. Research facilities shared their most advanced prototypes. Even commercial shipping companies offered their vessels for military conversion. Humanity was preparing for war with a unity and determination that surprised even the military leadership. Dr. Helen Brooks joined the briefing from the Technology Integration Facility where Calari energy cores were being adapted for human ships. "General, we've made breakthrough progress with the alien power systems," she announced. "We can now generate defensive shields that are 60% stronger than anything the Vorthok possess while maintaining full weapons capability." "What about offensive applications?" Kevin asked. "That's where it gets interesting, sir," Helen replied, with excitement in her voice. "The Calari energy cores can be modified to power weapons that are far beyond current Earth technology. We're talking about plasma cannons with pinpoint accuracy across interstellar distances and quantum torpedoes that can penetrate any known armor." Kevin felt the pieces of the war machine falling into place. Human military doctrine had always emphasized adaptability and innovation over brute force, but now they had the technology to back up their tactical advantages. The Vorthok Empire was about to face something completely outside their experience. Admiral Johnson report to the command center for final briefing. Kevin announced over the communication system. Admiral Carl Johnson arrived within minutes carrying the operational plans for humanity's first interstellar military campaign. "General, the fleet is ready for departure, and our intelligence teams have completed their analysis of Vorthok weaknesses," he reported. "Show me what we're dealing with," Admiral Kevin said as they gathered around the tactical display. "So the Vorthok fight exactly like their communications suggest," Carl explained. "They use overwhelming numbers in predictable formations against static targets. They've never encountered an enemy that could match their firepower or challenge their tactical assumptions. Their biggest weakness is overconfidence." The display showed detailed analysis of Vorthok battle tactics drawn from centuries of conquest records. The enemy always followed the same pattern: establish orbital superiority through massed dreadnought formations, bombard defensive positions until resistance collapsed, then land ground forces to secure strategic objectives. "What's our approach?" Admiral Kevin asked. "We're going to do something the Vorthok have never seen before, sir," Carl replied. "Instead of meeting them in direct confrontation, we'll use surgical strikes against critical systems. Our ships are smaller and faster than theirs, but they're also much more sophisticated. We can disable their vessels without destroying them and capture their technology for analysis." Kevin nodded as he studied the operational timeline. "And if, they adapt to our tactics. That's the beauty of human military doctrine, General. We don't just have one plan, we have dozens of contingency strategies that we can implement in real time. The Vorthok will be fighting an enemy that changes tactics faster than they can respond." The final element of the war machine came online. When Captain Tony Lewis reported from the Artificial Intelligence Development Center, "General, our tactical computers are now fully integrated with Calari shield technology," he announced. "We can coordinate fleet movements and weapons, targeting with precision that's impossible for biological commanders to achieve." Kevin realized that humanity was about to deploy military capabilities that had never existed before in galactic history. They weren't just building ships and weapons, they were creating an entirely new form of warfare that combined human tactical innovation with alien defensive technology and artificial intelligence coordination. "Admiral Johnson, you have authorization to deploy the first wave," Kevin announced. "Show the Vorthok Empire what happens when they threaten species under human protection." The fleet that departed from Earth orbit represented everything humanity had learned about warfare over thousands of years of conflict. 27 ships carrying the most advanced technology ever created by human civilization began their journey to the Calari system. Each vessel was commanded by officers who understood that they weren't just fighting a battle. They were establishing humanity's position as a major Military power in galactic politics, Ambassador Zirinka received the message from Admiral Johnson as human ships approached the edge of Kalari space. Ambassador, this is Admiral Carl Johnson of the Earth Defense Force. We're here to provide the protection your people requested. The Vorthek Empire is about to learn that some species fight back. The war engine was fully awake and ready to show the galaxy what human military doctrine really meant when applied with unlimited resources and absolute determination. Commander Beth Rogers watched the tactical display as 50 Vorthek dreadnoughts moved toward the outer asteroid belt in perfect formation. The enemy ships advanced with the confidence of predators that had never faced serious resistance. Their commanders clearly expected to crush the small human fleet in a demonstration of overwhelming firepower that would end any thoughts of continued resistance. All ships, this is Commander Rogers, she announced over the fleet communication system. Execute Operation Razor Wire on my mark. Remember, we're not trying to match their firepower. We're going to show them that raw strength means nothing without tactical intelligence. Beth commanded a squadron of 12 stealth destroyers that had been specially modified with Kalari shield generators and the most advanced weapons systems humanity had ever produced. Each ship was barely 1/10 the size of a Vorthak dreadnought, but carried technology that was decades ahead of anything the enemy possessed. Beth, we're reading massive energy buildup from the Vorthak-led ships, reported Captain Sam Miller from his carrier position deeper in the asteroid field. They're charging their main plasma batteries for a full power barrage. Let them come, Sam, Beth replied calmly. The bigger they are, the harder they fall? The first phase of the human battle plan began when thousands of micromines activated throughout the asteroid belt. Each device was no larger than a basketball, but carried enough explosive power to cripple a capital ship's critical systems. The mines had been deployed hours earlier by human ships moving under complete stealth, and now they waited like invisible predators for their targets to arrive. Vorthak. Warlord Kethnar commanded the lead dreadnought and felt complete confidence as his massive fleet advanced toward the human positions. His tactical computers showed only 27 enemy vessels against his 50-ship formation. The humans were clearly desperate to attempt such a hopeless battle. All ships prepare for maximum firepower bombardment, Kethnar ordered his fleet commanders. We will destroy the human vessels in a single, coordinated strike and broadcast the results across the galaxy as a warning to other species. The Vorthek dreadnoughts entered the asteroid field in their traditional wall formation with each ship, maintaining precise spacing for maximum weapons coverage. Their massive plasma cannons swiveled toward the detected human positions while their thick armor plating prepared to absorb any return fire. Then the micromines struck. The first explosions targeted the Vorthek ship's weapon batteries with surgical precision. Instead of trying to penetrate heavy armor, the human mines attacked critical system junctions and power coupling nodes. 12 dreadnoughts lost primary weapons capability in the first 30 seconds as their targeting computers failed, and their energy distribution systems overloaded. What is happening? Kethnar demanded as damage reports flooded his command center. How are the humans attacking us from multiple directions simultaneously? The answer came when Commander Rogers activated the second phase of the human battle plan. Her stealth destroyers emerged from behind carefully selected asteroids and began engaging the confused Vorthek formation with weapons fire of incredible accuracy. Instead of attempting to destroy the massive enemy ships, the human vessels targeted specific systems with quantum torpedoes that could penetrate any known armor. Captain Miller launched the third wave of attack as his carrier groups released swarms of fighter craft that moved through the asteroid field like deadly insects. The small human fighters were impossible for Vorthek targeting systems to track effectively as they struck at shield generators, communication arrays, and navigation computers before disappearing back into the rocks. Sir, the humans are using some kind of electronic warfare system, reported Kethnar's tactical officer as his displays began showing contradictory information. Our sensors are detecting human ships in locations where they can't possibly be, and our weapon systems are receiving false targeting data. Colonel Danny Clark smiled grimly from his position aboard the electronic warfare vessel as he watched Vorthak ships beginning to fire on each other. The human electronic warfare suite was feeding the enemy fleet false sensor information and jamming their communication frequencies until Vorthak commanders could no longer coordinate their attacks. "All human vessels, this is Admiral Johnson," came the voice over the fleet communication system. "Execute final phase of Operation Razorwire. Show them what happens when they bring a sledgehammer to a precision fight." The culmination of the battle came when human ships demonstrated the full capabilities of their integrated Kaleri technology. Energy shields that could absorb the heaviest Vorthak weapons fire while maintaining perfect mobility and weapons accuracy. Plasma cannons that could strike critical targets from distances the enemy couldn't even detect. Most importantly, tactical coordination that allowed 27 human ships to fight as a single organism against 50 individual enemy vessels. Warlord Kethnar watched in growing horror as his supposedly invincible fleet was systematically dismantled by an enemy that fought unlike anything in Vorthak military experience. The humans didn't try to overpower his ships, they simply made his weapons useless through superior technology and tactics. "All ships retreat immediately," Kethnar finally ordered as he realized that continuing the battle would result in the complete destruction of his fleet. "We must report this to High Command immediately." But only 13 Vorthak ships remained functional enough to escape the asteroid field. 37 dreadnoughts drifted powerless among the rocks with their crews alive but their military capability completely eliminated. The human fleet had suffered only minor damage to 3 vessels during the entire engagement. Commander Rogers opened a communication channel to the surviving Vorthak ships as they fled toward the edge of the system. "Warlord Kethnar, this is Commander Beth Rogers of the Earth Defense Force. Tell your superiors that humanity doesn't fight the way other species fight. We don't try to match your strength, we make your strength irrelevant." The message that reached Vorthak High Command hours later sent shock waves through the Empire's military leadership. For the first time in their history, they had encountered an enemy that didn't just resist their overwhelming firepower but rendered it completely ineffective through superior tactical doctrine. Captain Sam Miller sent his report back to Admiral Johnson as human salvage teams began examining captured Vorthak technology. "Sir, the enemy weapons and armor are impressive, but their tactical thinking is centuries behind ours. They fight like ancient armies using brute force against fixed positions. They've never learned to adapt because they've never needed to." The first battle was over and humanity had demonstrated something the galaxy had never seen before. Military power that didn't depend on overwhelming numbers or massive weapons, but on the ability to think faster and fight smarter than any enemy they faced. The war engine had drawn first blood, and the Vorthak Empire was beginning to realize they had seriously underestimated the species they had dismissed as primitive warriors. Warlord Karnvak stared at the tactical display showing the complete military mobilization of the Vorthak Empire and felt something he had never experienced before in 3 centuries of conquest. Fear, the human victory in the asteroid belt, had shattered every assumption about galactic military power, and now species across 16 star systems were beginning to resist Vorthak expansion. "Supreme Commander, we have mobilized over 2,000 ships from every conquest fleet in the Empire," reported General Vashkol as he presented the full scope of Vorthak military response. "We are bringing our entire military might to bear against this human threat before their tactics can spread to other species." Krunvak studied the intelligence reports that his spies had gathered about human military capabilities. What he saw defied everything the Vorthak knew about warfare. The humans didn't just fight battles, they waged comprehensive campaigns that targeted every aspect of their enemy's ability to continue fighting. "How many ships do the humans have in the Kaleri system?" Karnvak asked. "Our latest intelligence suggests no more than 90 vessels, Supreme Commander," Veshkol replied. "Even with their advanced technology, they cannot hope to match 2,000 Vorthak dreadnoughts in direct battle." But Karnvak had read the battle reports from the asteroid engagement, and he understood that the humans would never fight a direct battle on Vorthak terms. These creatures had somehow mastered the art of making superior numbers meaningless through tactical innovation that the Empire had never encountered. Meanwhile, in the Sol system, Admiral Carl Johnson was revealing the true scope of human military preparation to the assembled fleet commanders. The ships deployed to Calari space had been only the advance force, while Earth's industrial complex had been building something unprecedented in galactic history. Ladies and gentlemen, we are no longer just defending an alien species from conquest. Admiral Johnson announced to his senior staff, "We are establishing humanity as the dominant military power in this region of space, and we're doing it through superiority in every aspect of warfare." Captain Lavara White presented the technical specifications for the second wave of human ships now approaching completion in orbital shipyards. 90 vessels carrying the most advanced weapon systems humanity had ever created, including quantum torpedoes that could penetrate any known shielding and plasma cannons with accuracy that exceeded biological targeting capability. Admiral, our ships are now equipped with artificial intelligence systems that can coordinate battle tactics faster than any organic commander, reported Colonel Steve Johnson from the Tactical Development Center. "We can process battlefield information and adapt our strategies in real time while enemy commanders are still trying to understand what's happening." The revolutionary aspect of human military doctrine was becoming clear as Admiral Johnson explained the comprehensive nature of their campaign against the Vorthic Empire. They weren't just fighting ship-to-ship battles, but conducting psychological warfare that attacked the very foundations of enemy military thinking. Major Tony Lewis had been leading commando raids deep into Vorthak territory using ships that were completely invisible to enemy sensors. Instead of destroying enemy installations, his teams planted sophisticated computer programs that fed false information to Vorthak intelligence networks and made their commanders doubt their own strategic assessments. "Sir, we've successfully infiltrated 17 Vorthak command centers and planted psychological warfare programs in their computer systems," Lewis reported during the strategic briefing. Enemy commanders are receiving contradictory intelligence reports, and their confidence in their own tactical superiority is beginning to break down. Dr. Zirin Ka had become humanity's primary source of intelligence about Vorthak military history, and was working directly with human tactical planners to identify enemy weaknesses. The Calari scientist explained that the Vorthak had conquered 43 species using exactly the same approach every time. Overwhelming force applied until the enemy surrendered. "Colonel, the Vorthak military doctrine has never evolved because it has never needed to," Zirinka explained to the human commanders. "They have always faced enemies that either submitted immediately or attempted to match their firepower directly. They have no experience fighting an opponent that refuses to engage on their terms." The psychological impact of human military effectiveness was spreading across Vorthak space faster than their ships could travel. Species that had lived in terror of the Empire for centuries were suddenly sending secret communications to human commanders, asking for protection or alliance. The galaxy's balance of power was shifting as word spread that someone had finally found a way to defeat Vorthak military might. Admiral Johnson received reports that 17 different species had formally requested human military protection within days of the asteroid battle. More importantly, Vorthak expansion had ground to a halt as their commanders tried to understand how to fight an enemy that made their greatest strengths into liabilities. "Admiral, we're receiving intelligence that Supreme Warlord Karnvak is personally leading the Vorthak response," reported Captain Beth Rogers from her reconnaissance position. "He's bringing the largest military force in their history directly to the Calari system for a final confrontation." "How many ships, Captain?" Admiral Johnson asked. "Over 2,000 dreadnoughts, sir, pulled from conquest fleets across the entire Empire," Rogers replied. "They're calling it a primary extinction response, and they intend to eliminate humanity before our military doctrine can spread to other species." Admiral Johnson felt the weight of the moment settling on his shoulders. The coming battle would determine not just the fate of the Calari, but the future balance of power across known space. Humanity was about to face the full military might of the most successful conquest empire in galactic history. All ship commanders, this is Admiral Johnson, he announced over the fleet communication system. The Vorthic Empire has committed everything. They have to destroying us. They believe that overwhelming numbers will overcome our tactical advantages. They're about to learn that quantity means nothing when facing quality backed by superior strategic thinking. The war engine was reaching full operational capacity as human ships took their positions throughout the Kaleri system. 2,000 Vorthic dreadnoughts against 90 human vessels in a battle that would prove whether military innovation could triumph over brute force when the stakes were the survival of entire civilizations. The galaxy was about to witness warfare on a scale and sophistication that had never existed before in known history. Supreme Warlord Karnvak stood on the command bridge of his flagship and watched 2,000 Vorthic dreadnoughts arrange themselves in the largest battle formation in the Empire's history. The massive ships stretched across millions of kilometers of space around the Kaleri homeworld like a metal storm, cloud preparing to unleash destruction that would be remembered across the galaxy for centuries. Supreme Commander, all ships report ready for maximum firepower engagement, announced General Vashkol as the final elements of the Vorthak Armada moved into attack position. The human fleet consists of only 90 vessels and they cannot hope to survive our coordinated assault. Karnvak felt confidence returning as he studied the overwhelming superiority of his forces. Whatever tactical advantages the humans possessed would be meaningless against such massive numerical odds. 2,000 ships against 90 was not a battle, but an execution that would end humanity's threat to the Empire permanently. All ships prepare for simultaneous bombardment of human positions, Karnvak ordered his fleet commanders. We will destroy their entire fleet in a single coordinated strike, and then proceed with the complete elimination of both the humans and the Kaleri. But Admiral Carl Johnson had no intention of fighting the battle on Vorthak terms. As the enemy fleet prepared for their traditional assault, human ships began executing a tactical maneuver that the Vorthak had never encountered before in 3 centuries of conquest. All vessels, this is Admiral Johnson, he announced over the fleet communication system. Execute Operation Broken Mirror. Show them what happens when they bring an army to fight a thinking enemy. Colonel Nancy Davis commanded the opening phase of the human strategy from her position aboard the tactical coordination vessel. Instead of meeting the Vorthic fleet in direct confrontation, the human ships began a complex series of movements that divided the massive enemy formation into smaller groups that could be engaged separately. Sir, the humans are refusing to fight, reported the Vorthak tactical officer as he watched enemy ships seemingly retreat deeper into the asteroid fields around the Kaleri system. They appear to be running from our superior numbers. Karnvak studied the tactical display with growing unease. The human ships weren't running randomly, but moving in carefully coordinated patterns that suggested a level of tactical planning he had never seen before. Maintain formation and pursue the enemy vessels, he ordered. Do not allow them to escape. But the Vorthak fleet discovered that pursuing the humans meant breaking their carefully arranged battle formation into smaller groups that could be isolated and destroyed. Captain Greg Thompson led the first counterattack as his siege breaker. Class ships emerged from concealment and engaged a separated group of 50 Vorthak dreadnoughts with weapons of incredible destructive power, the quantum-enhanced plasma cannons that human engineers had developed using Kaleri technology could penetrate any known armor and create cascading explosions that disabled entire enemy formations. Thompson's ships destroyed 12 Vorthak vessels in the first minute of engagement while their enhanced shields absorbed return fire that would have vaporized conventional ships. What kind of weapons are those? Demanded Karnvak as he watched his supposedly invincible dreadnoughts being torn apart by human firepower. How are such small ships generating that much destructive capability? The answer came when Colonel Danny Clark activated the human electronic warfare systems that had been upgraded with artificial intelligence coordination. Suddenly, Vorthak ships throughout the massive fleet found their targeting computers, feeding them false information while their communication systems were jammed with interference that made coordinated tactics impossible. Supreme Commander, our ships are firing on each other, reported General Vashkol in panic as the Vorthok formation began collapsing into chaos. Our tactical computers are showing human vessels in impossible locations, and our weapon systems are targeting our own ships. Commander Jake Sullivan led his fighter squadrons in surgical strikes against Vorthok command ships while their crews struggled to understand what was happening to their fleet. The small human fighters moved through the confused enemy formation like invisible predators, striking at critical systems and vanishing before return fire could target them. Captain Sam Miller coordinated the final phase of the human assault, as his ships demonstrated the full integration of Kaleri defensive technology with human tactical innovation. Energy shields that could absorb the heaviest weapons fire while maintaining perfect mobility and targeting accuracy. Plasma cannons that could strike critical enemy systems from distances the Vorthok couldn't even detect. All human vessels concentrate. Fire on the enemy flagship, Admiral Johnson ordered as the battle reached its climax. End this war by showing them that their supreme commander is as vulnerable as any other target. Warlord Karnvak realized with growing horror that his massive fleet was being systematically destroyed by an enemy that fought unlike anything in Vorthok experience. The humans didn't try to match his firepower but simply made his superior. Numbers irrelevant through tactical coordination that his commanders couldn't counter. Sir, we've lost over 1,500 ships and the remaining vessels are scattered throughout the system, reported his tactical officer as the flagship shields began failing under concentrated human fire. We cannot maintain formation and our communication systems are completely compromised. The decisive moment came when Karnvak attempted a final desperate gambit by ordering his flagship to ram the Kaleri homeworld in a last act of destructive spite. But Commander Jake Sullivan intercepted the massive ship in his fighter and engaged it in a direct duel that showcased everything humanity had learned about warfare. The battle ended not with a massive explosion but with the Vorthok Supreme Commander's complete surrender. Faced with the total destruction of his military forces and the systematic dismantling of everything the Empire had built through conquest, Karnvak finally understood that continued resistance would only result in the extinction of his species. Human. Admiral, this is Supreme Warlord Karnvak, came the transmission from the crippled flagship. I formally surrender the Vorthok Empire and request terms for the survival of my people. Admiral Johnson accepted the surrender as human ships moved to secure the remaining enemy vessels. The largest military engagement in galactic history was over and humanity had established itself as the dominant military power in known space, not through conquest but through tactical superiority that made conquest unnecessary. Ambassador Zirinka fulfilled the Kaleri promise by sharing their advanced technology with humanity, while word of the human victory spread across the galaxy faster than ships could travel. Within days, 17 different species formally requested human military protection, while others began sending diplomats to establish alliance agreements. The final scene showed construction beginning on the first interstellar human military academy where alien species would learn human tactical doctrine. The galaxy had asked for protection and humanity had delivered a war engine so effective that the very concept of interstellar warfare was being redefined. The Vorthok Empire that had terrorized known space for centuries now served as a cautionary tale about the dangers of underestimating a species that had spent its entire history perfecting the art of warfare while maintaining the wisdom to use that knowledge responsibly. Humanity hadn't just won a war but had fundamentally changed what war meant on a galactic scale.